How do you feel that a minor in WGS has benefited you maybe in your personal life? So beyond just your career.
Sure. I think that it's just taught me how to deal with other types of people. I think that we derive things, that we've learned when we're in school, but we also take things from our personal experiences and how we interact with other folks. But I think what I learned from my minor when I was at UNCW was just that it's good to stick up for yourself and lots of different things that will happen to you during the course of your life, whether it be work related or not. And it's important to be able to explain those to folks, not only analytically in a very boring way where you can tell them, all of the academic background to everything, but it's important to be able to break it down for somebody and say, this is me, this is a person. I know that you can hear about it in the news or read about it in a book or whatever it may be, but this is me and this is how it impacts me. And I've had to have those conversations with my personal family and things like that. So, being able to take that from the minor and applying it to my personal life with my friends and my family and saying, this is it. This is it in real life. It's not somebody you don't know. It's not somebody in a book. This is how it impacts me. Taking that for my minor has allowed me to be able to explain that in a way where I hope people can take that and apply it to other folks that they encounter during their lives, and be able to say, hey, I learned something from, this person that explained this to me and how it affected her and not just how it looks conceptually.
You alluded to experiencing sexism in the industry or in the career earlier. Do you think the WGS minor has in any way helped you navigate that or navigate this male-dominated career?
Sure, I definitely think so. Like I said, it is still rampant. It still happens. It has happened in front of my male bosses who have gotten to see it happen in real life. And they have been like, wow, this is really bad. Like, yes, it is. And people do not care who they say it in front of, and they don't care what comes out of their mouth. And it is especially, it happens to all women, but coming out of college or coming straight out of law school, if you look young and somebody feels like they can just say anything that comes off the handle to you sometimes. And, I think that the minor kind of prepares you in a way so that I shouldn't say to expect that, because that's not, that's not what I want people to think is going to happen to them. But realistically, it just gives you awareness. And I think having the awareness allows you to develop, skills and other ways of approaching certain situations when they happen to you and how you might handle those. And at the end of the day, you don't ever really know how you're going to handle them until you're in the situation and you experience it. And sometimes it's a very different reaction than you thought you would have had. You think I will react to it this way, but when it happens, unfortunately, sometimes in this career field, you have to pick and choose your battles, and which is sad to say, but at the end of the day, some people tend to forget being an attorney. While it sounds like a very prestigious thing, I mean, it is a customer service role. And I serve my clients, and I cannot have reactions that will have adverse impact on my clients, even if it is in defense of myself some of the time. So I have to be careful about what I choose to react to and what my reaction may be. But any of my clients would tell me to stand up for myself, and they wouldn't have a problem with that. But I think it's just important to remember that, you have to be a little bit careful, and at the same time, you have to do what's right for you, and you have to do what's right for your client. So I think taking from that, it just kind of prepares you to recognize the situation when you're in it and how to evaluate that and react to it in the best way, in the most appropriate way possible. And sometimes appropriateness doesn't matter, and I will let you know that it doesn't matter, and I will tell you very clearly, and I have no problem with doing that. But sometimes, especially if it's judge related or prosecutor related, and it has happened to me, or other attorney related, you have to pick the appropriate time to address those situations, and there are appropriate times. But I would just say that, the minor has allowed me to kind of realize those when they happen and how to appropriately react to those, and kind of take them in stride and analyze them to myself, for sure.
Is there any other advice that you would give to undergraduate students like me who are currently minoring or are considering minoring in women and gender studies?
I would say, when you're in college and everybody tells you, you don't have to have it all figured out. It is amazing the things that you will find that you can do with a degree that you may have never thought that you could do. Even that way, kind of, aside from the women's and gender studies, obviously I became an attorney. It's not necessarily a direct lineage to that. It's obviously an option, especially if you're interested in social justice and things of that nature. But I will say that you would be very, very surprised to see a lot of the diversity that employers are looking for from candidates for their jobs. And there are things that I did not know existed when I graduated college, and I didn't even know existed when I graduated law school. A lot of the folks that I went to law school with do not do traditional practice. We're very lucky to be in a state with amazing opportunities. If you decide to stay in North Carolina, amazing opportunities for all facets of different things, and especially having such a huge tech hub and other, financial institutions. The different roles that you can get into with these companies, or even if you decide to go to a small business route like I did with the women's and gender studies, or if you decide to pursue something afterward, are immense. And it's hard to find them sometimes until you kind of hear a friend or something be like, oh, this is the job that I have now. And you're like, what the heck is that? Because I have friends that I went to law school with where I'm like, I don't even understand how you got that job. I didn't even know anything like that existed. And it's like that for everything. You just don't know that they exist. And so I would just say the biggest thing is, and I will tell you, I'm not very good at it, but networking. I will say that when I was in college, I had an internship, like I said, at a district attorney's office, and I interned there for quite some time, to where they hired me on in a full-time role my senior year of undergrad, and I worked my entire senior year of undergrad. And then when I got out, when I was in law school, I had a different internship every single semester of law school because I needed to meet people. And so I would just say, keep your options open. Don't knock anything out. And even better, if there's somewhere that you feel like you're interested in, I always tell people, if there isn't a job for you, create it. If there is somewhere that looks really interesting to you that you would love to work, and I know that that's a super intimidating thing to say, but people are way more observant and open to things like that now. Like, for instance, my firm told me, they were like, we see you have all this experience or are really interested in this thing. We don't do that. If you want to create it. We're all for it. We're all about seeing you succeed. So I tell folks, just keep your mind open. There are so many things that you have no idea exist. And if it doesn't exist and it looks really interesting to you, pitch it to them. You never know what can happen. I just hope everyone understands that this, the movement and just the knowledge that you can gain from this minor are far from over. They're ever evolving. It's a great opportunity to be able to explore that area of academics, and you can truly apply that to so many different areas. Even if you were, I don't know, a computer science major and a women's and gender studies minor, there are roles for everything. So it's a good avenue to take. There's nothing wrong with it, and you will gain lots of knowledge that you can apply to tons of different jobs that may be available to you after graduation. So just take it and run with it. You know, you got good people teaching you and can give you the knowledge, and you never know who you might meet from your professors. So